Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Oxcord podcast presented by Boot Crew Media and sponsored by Maker's Mark. I am your host, Cruz Oxnard, as always, joined by the co-host Nick Perkins, who is severely hungover, recovering from a bachelor party in the greatest city in the world, New Orleans, Louisiana, of course, according to me. Bon is out. He's a little under the weather this week, so we'll be doing the show without him. Nick, how you feeling, man?
It's really debatable to call New Orleans the greatest city. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot of fun.
Most fun city in America?
Yeah. I mean, I would say fun in the sense of if you're 21 to 26. I mean, after that, probably not so much.
What are you talking about? I'm almost 30. I have a blast.
You got the heart of a 25-year-old, though, Cruz, and I mean that in a positive way.
Thank you. That's so sweet. So today's show, we are doing our ACC Preview Show. We are finally close enough. We're under 50 days, Nick, between week one of college football. So now we are in the sweet spot where we can finally do our preview shows for our conferences. Figure today we start with the ACC. Nick, I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
Look, I like starting with the ACC. Personally, This is the one I don't have as much knowledge about. I know Clemson. I know the top teams. I don't really know as far when we go down the roster of this conference. I don't really know too much. So, I mean, I'm glad we're getting this one out of the way, but I'm looking forward to getting to more like the meat and potatoes of, conferences, ones that are actually going to make the playoffs this year, I would say.
Ooh, okay.
We
have our division predictions, conference winners, player of the year. We have some fun bets. Max got your back. Fun bets going into which ones you should take for ACC purposes. And then, of course, me and Nick are going to touch if any of them make the college football playoff. Nick, last year, ACC kind of a disappointment. Clemson had 2 losses in September. Wake Forest came out of nowhere. Pitt kind of was the story of like, holy crap, they kind of put it all together. Can you pick it? Jordan Addison was there. They end up winning the ACC, going to a New Year's Six bowl, which no one had that happening last year.
Absolutely.
Everyone thought DJ was going to be the second coming of Tim Tebow, and he was just flat out awful. Lost to Georgia and NC State in 2 weeks. Then they got beat down by Pitt, and they went wire to wire with like Louisville, Georgia Tech, Florida State, and South Carolina. Just overall, not a good team last year. A lot of injuries. DJ wasn't great. A lot of freshmen.
It's just crazy that Clemson team went wire to wire with Georgia. Like week 1, was it?
It was week 1. Well, here's the thing. It was week 1. JT Daniels started for Georgia. DJ started for Clemson. Clemson's defense was fully healthy. So technically, Clemson didn't give up a score to Georgia. It was a pick 6. That was the only touchdown of the entire game. Clemson played Georgia really tough. So honestly, that game could have gone either way. It was, I believe, 10-3 was the final score of that game. It was either 10-3 or 10-0.
I believe it was 10-3.
Yeah, and then they played in Charlotte, and then you go to Raleigh. Fantastic game, by the way. One of the best games of the year last year was NC State Clemson, went into, I believe, double overtime, and Devin O'Leary just threw the prettiest touchdown pass in overtime I ever saw. It was NC State does this every couple of years. Like they beat somebody they shouldn't beat. So it's like used to be Miami, Florida State, and then apparently now it's Clemson. They always seem to play Clemson tough. Miami, new head coach Mario Cristobal. Very excited about him. It looks like the U is possibly making a comeback recruiting wise, but until we see it, can't really say anything about it. Florida State. Started off the season rough last year, made some adjustments, kind of finished in a positive note, I would say. They were 1 win away from making a bowl game. Pitt, new quarterback, new wide receiver, a lot of expectations coming off of last year. UNC was my pick. Oh, God.
Yeah. We both kind of went hard on UNC, and both kind of got burned on that one.
I was a big Sam Howell guy last year. In fact, I picked UNC, and I picked Sam Howell to win the Heisman last year. And they lose week 1 at Virginia Tech on a Thursday night. I'm like, wow, I hate football.
I think we actually recorded that episode maybe 2 days prior to that game. And me and you both were like, Sam Howell, get your bets in now. He's like 20-1 Heisman. And then it was like
threw 3 interceptions.
We just look like
we
look like a couple of idiots, no doubt.
Oh, I know. And so I'm glad, but we're going to end up making a pick that makes us look stupid again.
No, here's the thing. I think we've learned from the mistakes. I'm not making any stupid picks now. I'm not going off the wall. I don't know about you. We haven't talked about this.
No, I'm not. So I probably no.
Your picks are going to be a surprise to me, right? And like mine is going to be a surprise for you. So
we don't know. We haven't shared any of our picks or our predictions or anything like this. We like to keep it a little surprise. So, all right, Nick, I think we should just go ahead and jump into it.
Let's do it.
All right. I think this is the weakest conference in all of college football in the Power Five. I think it is. There hasn't been a lot of parity. I would say since 2013, it went from. Well, you can even say sooner, like earlier than that. I would say Florida State had a stranglehold on this conference for a while. Till about 2015, and then Clemson kind of came out of nowhere and finally put it together. And Clemson's had the stranglehold, and then now it's like, okay, is it time for a new team? Because Clemson, for the first time in 5-6 years, looked like a normal team.
Right.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking, is it now NC State's turn? Is it Pitt? Pitt has arrived. Is Wake Forest finally stepping up? Or is Miami and Florida State, are they on the rise? Are they making a comeback?
We were in a scenario last year, October, where we were saying Wake Forest might make a playoff. Like that's the area of college football we're in right now. I think there were like 7 or 8-0. They hadn't played their toughest games yet.
Wake Forest had a fantastic year.
Unreal year.
A great year. Sam Hartman, who, if you remember the name, he was on QB1, which you can watch on Netflix. He went to this small private school in Myrtle Beach in South Carolina. Ends up going to Wake Forest. I didn't really think much of the guy. I was like, he's good for a high school quarterback. And then he's stuck it out with Wake Forest. He's been there for, it seems, forever. Had a fantastic year last year. Projected to be a first-round draft pick this year. Look, he did something I never thought I would see again in my lifetime, and that is taking Wake Forest to an ACC championship game.
Unreal. I mean, they averaged 41 points a game last season. They had 2 receivers go over 1,000 yards. I mean, these are stats that you reserve for like the Clemsons of this conference, and little old Wake Forest comes out of nowhere and tears it down in 21. You love to see it. I love Wake Forest. I'm so high on them this year. I mean, by the end of the show, we'll definitely find out how high I really am on them. But yeah. I love Wake Forest this year.
I mean, think about this. Wake Forest returns every offensive starter except their tight end and their running back.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I mean, coming off a record year last year. I mean, last year they set a bunch of records for their team, and then they're returning all of this. They got synergy. All these players got better in the offseason. This is going to be a tough team to beat this year, no doubt.
Dave Clawson, the head coach of Wake Forest, has done a fantastic job, because when you think of Wake Forest, you think of basketball school. You think like Tim Duncan, you think CP3. No, Wake Forest is the real deal. I believe their only losses last year, if I'm not mistaken, were to Clemson, which – Clemson was starting to finally put it all together last year, so it kind of made sense. They lost to Pittsburgh in the ACC championship game, and then they did lose, I believe, they lost to North Carolina, and it was a crazy game to North Carolina too. Like it was 55-58. Like, think about that, Nick. You lose 55-58. Like, your offense goes out and does everything possible to you.
Couldn't get a stop, man.
Could not get a stop. I'll be honest with you. I'm very high on NC State this year, Nick.
So you're high on NC State. See, that was my other team I was kind of high on this year. Yeah.
I love NC State this year. They returned 10 on defense, which honestly, their defense, Nick, everyone talks about Clemson and how good their defense is this year. NC State quietly has one of the best defenses in the country. I think they have one of the best linebackers in the country. I think this team, I've looked, and I was looking for maybe a trap game for them. Nick, if they get past Clemson, There's no reason this team should not be undefeated.
I fully agree. I'm looking at it right here. I mean, Syracuse is always a weird trap game. Syracuse always plays people tough.
Yeah.
Correct. But I mean, let's just run through it real quick.
Yeah.
They're beating East Carolina. They're beating Charleston Southern. That's happening. They get Texas Tech at home. That should be a win. They get Connecticut at home. Should be a win. They go to Clemson, which is where you're saying they'll slip up, which I agree. That's probably maybe a loss.
It's where they should slip up. Now, I will say this, though. I think Clemson will be undefeated and NC State will be undefeated. That will be a college game day. Stop. October 1st in Death Valley. Probably be a night game. Look, NC State broke an 8-year losing streak to Clemson.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this, though. Clemson, when they played them, had just lost 2 of their best defensive players. Mm-hmm. DJ wasn't really clicking.
DJ wasn't clicking at all last year.
It was the perfect storm for NC State. It was in Raleigh. Everything went their way. Turnovers, everything it's like one of those years where it's like when Purdue beats like Michigan State or Ohio State, where it's like everything just has to be perfect. That's what that was last year. But NC State, like they balled out, man. They were a good football team. Now
they're solid all around. There's no just like crazy high points. I'd say Devin Leary is probably their high point, but their defense is stout.
Yes.
I mean, and honestly, I think they have actually some pretty good depth across the board. I mean, that's to me where these average teams like NC State, like a Wake Forest, can make that like jump into being like Clemson territory, is if your second, third guy off the bench in that position is as good as the first. And I think they have pretty good depth this year.
Remember the name Drake Thomas. Drake Thomas is their starting linebacker, and he is going to be an All-American this year. I love this kid. Over 100 tackles. He had a pick 6. He was just like all over the field, Nick. He reminds me a lot of Henry To'oTo'o in a way. He's just not going to get the name brand recognition because he plays for NC State. But this kid is up there with the Noah Sewells and the To'oTo'os and the Nolan Smiths. Like, he is a real deal. So he's somebody I'm going to look out for. I want to see what Leary does. I want to see if he takes the next step because he made some huge throws last year. If you go back and you look at their schedule last year, they got beat by Mississippi State, played an SEC school, air raid, bound to happen, just a bad overall game. And then you lose by 1 point at Miami, 31-30, back and forth game. Miami was a very inconsistent team last year as well. And then you lose at Wake Forest 42-45. But then they end the year beating Syracuse. And then they end the year coming back from a wild ending against UNC. Like, if you haven't seen the UNC-NC State game from last year, go back and watch the last 3 minutes of that game. Because UNC had NC State dead in the water. NC State has a huge strike, huge big play, recover an onside kick, and then get another touchdown on top of it to end the game with 20 seconds left. Like,
it's one of the craziest endings to a college football game I've seen.
It was. I think it was one of the best games last year. Like just go on YouTube and watch the last 4 minutes of that game. It was fantastic. And then their bowl game against UCLA did get canceled. I thought they probably would have beaten UCLA. I know you were a lot higher on UCLA last year.
I was, yeah.
But I really like NC State this year. My worry is that can they come up with this hype? Because this is the most hype NC State team since they had Phillip Rivers and Russell Wilson. They've had real teams before, but the question is, but they've never just been able to put it together. So if you look at it afterwards, let's just say they get by Clemson, they beat Clemson again, 2 years in a row. All right, NC State is sitting 5-0 in October. The next week they have Florida State, at Syracuse, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, Boston College, at Louisville, and at your rival North Carolina to end the season. My worry, that should be on paper. Yeah. It should be. My worry is that, and I actually think it's the week after Clemson, where they could get caught. You have this huge emotional roller coaster game. You beat the team that has owned the conference for the last few years. And then the next week you play an up-and-coming Florida State team that has some real young talent but doesn't have it all put together yet. That's where I could see a loss. I could see Virginia Tech. Wake Forest is definitely on there. Luckily, Wake Forest is at home. And then you end the year at North Carolina, which I think North Carolina is going to be a much better team this year as well. So
yeah, I agree. I think they had everybody talks about like the problems teams have. I thought they had a Sam Howell problem last year. I think he came in with so much hype. And, he was on the Heisman candidacy. We picked him.
I drank the Kool-Aid.
Right.
100%.
So, yeah, I think UNC will be better this year. They do have some talent around them. We're not talking about them right now, but I do like UNC this year. But I think, they're going to be better without their Heisman, quarterback.
Josh Downs. Yeah, Josh Downs is their starting wide receiver for UNC. He is a fantastic wide receiver, and he will make whoever is under center for the Tar Heels better. And then, of course, we have to talk about the overwhelming favorites, the team that I guess most media people just forgot what happened last year with Clemson because everyone has them going to the playoffs. And I'm like, did I miss something?
I think it's honestly just the chalk answer. I think you look at the teams that are out there right now and, you've got Alabama, you got Ohio State, you have like the Georgias. Oklahoma's probably not going to be there this year. And then, so who's your fourth guy coming off the bench? I think the chalk answer there is just to put Clemson in that spot because you expect them to go 11-1, 12-0, but I don't think they're that team this year. So I'll let you continue, but that's my thought on it.
Look, Clemson has become a name brand in college football over the last almost decade, I would say. Believe it or not, Dabo Swinney's in his 15th year at Clemson. 15th. And he has done a fantastic job at Clemson. Do I like him personally? No, he's become very unlikable lately. But he's 150-36 in his career. But this is the first time where he's not going to have Brett Venables on the sideline as his defensive coordinator.
Yep.
So Brent went to Oklahoma. I'm excited to see what he's going to do there. But Clemson's defense, Nick, is so loaded this year that I don't know how anyone is going to be able to run against them. They have the best defensive line I think I've ever seen. I think all four of their guys will go in the first round of the NFL draft.
Would you put it up against Georgia's last year?
Oh my God, I would take a fully healthy.
Take Clemson's?
A fully healthy.
Fully healthy.
Yeah, fully healthy. I would take Clemson's all day. I don't even think it's close.
Wow.
Because here's the thing. Brian Brees is a more athletic Jordan Davis. He's just as big. He's not as like weight wise, but like muscle wise,
he's freakishly large.
He's insane. Tyler Davis is another big nose guard going along with Brian Brees, who's just a problem. Miles Murphy he's going to be a defensive end in the NFL on Sundays. He's a stud. Trenton Simpson. Oh my gosh, I am blanking on the corner that they had. That he was all ACC. I would take Clemson's defense against anybody right now, including Alabama's, including Georgia's, Ohio State's, like anybody I would put up with Clemson's. Fully healthy, by the way.
Sure.
Last year they got burnt because a lot of their best players got hurt.
Right. After a couple of losses, they're not really looking to hurry their rehab back in order to get back for a national championship.
Your college football playoff hopes end before September's even over. Like it's a lost season for Clemson. Like so you lose week 1 against the eventual national champions. Sure. Nothing to hang your hat on. You lost by a touchdown and held their offense scoreless. And then 2 weeks later, you go to NC State and you lose in double overtime to a team you were better than, but NC State just had a better game. The next week, you beat Boston College on a goal line stand. You escape Syracuse when they missed I think it was like a 50-something yard field goal to tie it up, and Clemson escaped. Then you go to Pittsburgh and you get – that game was a 10-point game, Nick, but it felt like 21. Kenny Pickett ate that defensive line, and so did Jordan Addison. Like that, like it never felt close. And that was the game where I was like, okay, Kenny Pickett's the real deal.
Right.
So
I think that was also probably a game people were like, okay, Clemson's not really about it. Like they've had games in their past, like in their national championship seasons where they escape a Syracuse, they escape with wins all the time, but they just continue to do it. That Pittsburgh game is where Kenny Pickett, who at the time was kind of like, who is this kid?
Yeah.
Goes out there and just dominates them up and down the field the whole game. Like you said, 10 points, but didn't really feel like that ever.
No.
I mean, Pitt had that game won. Everybody knew they were going to win that game.
It just
I think that was the point in Clemson's season where everybody's like, okay, Clemson's in a bad way right now. This is a bad season for them.
Yeah, it was rough. And then the next 2 weeks, they barely escaped Florida State at home, and then they barely escaped Louisville. And then the last 4 games of the year, they beat Connecticut, by the way, basketball school, 44-7. I will give them credit for this. They beat down Wake Forest and Sam Hartman. They beat them down. Wake Forest is number 13 in the country. They beat them down 48-27.
Lost a lot of money on that game.
Because
I bet it all the way down too. I was Wake Forest money line until the death.
I didn't touch any Wake Forest last year, gambling wise. I really didn't. I was waiting for it to blow up on my face, and I couldn't do it, and I should have. Then you beat your rival last game of the year, 30-0 against South Carolina, against a bad South Carolina team. And then you go out and you win say what you want, it's the Chizik Bowl, but I thought it was pretty entertaining against a good Iowa State team. They won. Yeah. It took a 4th down stop to win it. I don't have faith in DJ at all.
I have no faith.
At all. I don't think this kid is good. I think he is a product of playing for the best high school program in the country. Is surrounded by 5 stars who's playing at Oregon, UCLA, USC, Texas, Alabama. Bryce Young was clearly the better player coming out of California. I don't even think it's close now. Like that whole comparison to last year of saying DJ Uyunglele was better than Bryce Young. No one has said that since then.
Correct.
I think Will Shipley is the next Danny Woodhead. Their small little white running back.
I love it.
He's good, but like he's no Christian McCaffrey. Like everyone thinks he is. I think he's more Danny Woodhead, Rex Burkhead. I think this defense is so good. My worry is that DJ is going to lose this team games. Or put their defense on the because if it wasn't for Clemson's defense last year, Nick, this is probably a 5-6 loss team.
I was going to say that, we're talking about all the close games that they lost. Or the close games
goal
that they
won.
How many of those are losses if that Clemson defense isn't nasty?
So if you look at it, they stopped Georgia Tech in the goal line, stopped Boston College goal line. Syracuse misses a fake field goal. I believe Florida State, it was a 1-possession game, and I think their defense got a turnover in the last couple seconds, so it made the score look better than it was. They stopped Louisville 1-possession game, and then their defense stopped Iowa State in the last possession on the 4th down. So like their defense saved them from losing 6 or 7 possible more games. That would have been
bad. I mean, that would have been a bad season.
Dabo might have got fired, honestly.
I don't think Dabo would have gotten fired after that. I think a lot of blame would have been placed on DJ, and I think he probably would have transferred, honestly. But I mean, we're sitting there talking about, we're not high on DJ. I mean, his spring game stats, nothing to really be happy about there. 17 for 36, 175 yards and 1 interception. Granted, that's probably against the first team defense, but still, man, you gotta perform better than that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I've talked to people who follow Clemson football, who cover it. DJ might not be the starter. Someone said that DJ won't be the starter going into the NC State game.
Well, see, that's what I'm wondering. Is he going to even be the starter week 1?
He will be. I think he will be. They open up a very interesting game. Georgia Tech in Atlanta in the Mercedes-Benz Dome. I think that's a very winnable game because if you look at it, Georgia Tech, then you play Furman and Louisiana Tech, and then you have to go to Wake Forest, which is not a gimme. That's not a gimme game anymore. And then the next week you go and then you host NC State, which is not a gimme. So are you going to?
Let's just say both of those they go 3-2 in that.
They're not making the playoffs.
They're not making the playoffs at that point, but then at that point, do they pull DJ?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
saying that he starts every one of those.
You would 100% pull DJ because then you get the new kid ready. DJ's had his time. He has had 5- and 4-star talent all around him, and he can't get it done. Because, look, in 2018, when Clemson won the national championship, Kelly Bryant, who I thought was actually a pretty good college quarterback, got pulled for Trevor Lawrence. Mm-hmm. And Dabo has shown that if you do not perform up to his level of expectations with a team that's talented, he has no problem pulling you for a freshman. He's done it before, and he's won a national championship doing it. So I think I 100% see him doing this. There's one more team I like in the ACC. I shouldn't like them because I've been burned by them so many times, Nick. But I like Carolina again this year.
Really? See, I like them. I think they're going to be better. But is this kind of like your dark horse to win it, or are you saying they're just going to perform great?
I think they're gonna be really fun to watch. I really do. Look, they should be 4-0 going into the Notre Dame game. They host Notre Dame at UNC. I like Mac Brown a lot. I loved him when he was at Texas. I like him. I think he's a really good recruiter for what he is, being as old as he is. I love Josh Downs. I'm telling you, Nick, this kid might be the future. Another first-round draft pick, wide receiver. Like, he is the real deal to me. Wouldn't be surprised.
Shout out Wyatt in the chat. Gene Chizik is UNC's defensive coordinator. I had no idea.
I had no idea. Okay, there you go.
Former Auburn head coach, man. Gene Chizik, UNC defensive coordinator. How about that?
So I'm looking at UNC last year. They lose the opener to Virginia Tech, and then they lose at Georgia Tech. Didn't just lose, got beat down. Lose to Florida State, lose to Notre Dame, lose the Pitt in overtime, and then you lose to NC State when you shouldn't have. And then they lost the Mayo Bowl to South Carolina.
Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Shout out Duke's Mayo Bowl. I was so high on UNC last year, and I'm like, okay, they can't be this bad 2 years in a row, right?
See, this is my thing with that, and I like UNC, and I like Mac Brown. Gene Chizik being their DC is even better because I mean, as much as Gene Chizik at Auburn, whatever, like I think he's a good coach, and I think he's a good mind for the game, and I think he's a great recruiter. So I think they have a good formula to be good. But you listed off all of those games that they lost last year.
Yeah.
Run that back this year, I don't think they win any of the ones they lost. That's my issue.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech, maybe they win, but I mean, the NC State, the Florida State, I think gets them this year. The Wake Forest. I mean, all of those games, I think they're still losses.
So you touched on that, Nick, and then so this is actually a third year for Mike Norvell at Florida State. Came in for Willie Taggart, which I think we can agree may have been one of the worst hires in the last decade.
It was bad. That's a bad hire.
It was a bad hire.
It was a bad hire when they hired him. Everybody hated it when he got hired there.
He came into a very bad situation. He was never going to succeed there. But he comes in third year. They go 5-7 last year. However, they went on a 3-game win streak, and then, like I said, they beat Miami, beat your rival, which they had no business beating Miami last year.
Agreed.
Doing it.
I thought Miami was the better team last year for sure.
They beat UNC last year when they were a 17-point underdog. Beat UNC, beat Syracuse, and then they played Florida to the wire to get into a bowl game. So, what do you see for him this year? Because they open up. It's actually funny, Nick. They have a game before they play LSU. Did you know that?
No, I actually didn't.
They play week 0 against Danuski, I believe is their name. August 27th. They play. Is
there a line on that game yet? I would love to know.
I have no idea. I am looking at it right now. I had no idea they were playing anybody. So they'll be 1-0. Fingers crossed, going into the LSU game in New Orleans. And then they have a bye week, and then they are at Louisville, Boston College, have Wake Forest at home, at NC State. They have Clemson at home. and then you end the year with Florida.
It's just Florida State's one of those teams this year that I think will progress. I think they'll win games that they're maybe not supposed to, and they'll definitely win the games they're supposed to this year. I think they're in the right step. They're headed the right direction, but I still think they're 2 or 3 years away before we can even start talking about in the same realm as the teams we just mentioned. I mean, they're 2 or 3 recruiting classes away probably from being in the conversation with like Clemson.
I like their quarterback. I like Jordan Travis. I thought Jordan Travis last year had very good flashes. I think he got thrown into the fire. But I mean, 15 touchdowns, another 7 on the ground. I mean, he already set rushing records for a quarterback at FSU in his first year. We know Florida State can recruit. It's my thing is, and I've said this multiple times, is that like I think he's setting up the next head coach for success.
Yeah,
for recruiting, because he's been doing a really good job recruiting. I just think that he is.
I mean, have you ever seen a 5-7 team laying 5 stars? I haven't. That's pretty freaking good for me.
Texas,
yeah.
Texas does it.
Yeah. Texas, yeah, that's true.
But they return 8 starters on offense, 8 on defense. And Nick, it's wide open right now in the ACC. Because all they have to do, there's 2 teams you have to beat, and it's Clemson and NC State. And they get NC State at NC State, and they get Clemson at Clemson. Or no, I'm sorry, Clemson at home. And then you get Florida at home to end the year. So I
like where you're going with it, but I think all 3 of those are losses this year, truly.
Well, we'll never know till we get there. So let's go ahead and pick our division winners, Nick. Okay. All right. You want to start with the Atlantic?
Sure. I'll go with my Atlantic pick. Okay. I know I just spent a lot of time dogging them. I think Clemson wins the Atlantic division this year. I think that defense is just too raw. I mean, you're right. Like, I knew they were going to be good. They're probably going to be the best in the country statistically. Mm-hmm. They're going to, absolutely 100% be top 3, no doubt in my mind. And I think the defense is good enough to get them through the games that they should win. Okay. And I'm saying all of this thinking DJ is going to get pulled after like week 2 or week 3. I think the NC State game, if he doesn't perform well in that, I don't care if it's a win or not. I think he gets pulled. Now, if he comes in, throws for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, it's his job till the end of the season. But it's up to DJ this year. And I think Clemson's, if I were a betting guy, if I were going to make a bet on it, I'd put Clemson in the Atlantic division just solely on that defense.
Okay. All right. And then who do you have for Coastal?
So Coastal, I'm going Miami, going straight chalk. I think Mario Cristobal has a great situation down there. Okay. He had a great recruiting class. He's a great coach. They showed some really bright spots last year. Obviously, having, the new coach, you're going to get that new energy in there. I think they win their division this year and they meet Clemson in the championship game.
Okay. I don't hate that. I do like what they have at QB. I like what they've been able to do in the transfer portal. I like what they've been able to do recruiting wise. So I 100% get that pick. In the Atlantic division, I got to do it. I got to go NC State.
NC State. I knew you were going, and I like that pick too. I have to. I actually literally have them on my list, and I crossed them out and went Clemson instead.
I looked at it. NC State has the 61st ranked schedule in America.
Yeah,
I think their schedule lines up. Their hardest game, obviously, is at Clemson, and that is going to be an electric, sold-out game in Death Valley.
Mm-hmm.
I love Devin Leary. I think he is going to be this year's breakout QB. I'm not saying he's going to have like a Joe Burrow-esque year or anything like that, but I think he is going to be the best quarterback in the ACC by a landslide. I think he's going to make an NFL team very happy. I love what they have on defense. I think this is just a complete team. This is just an experienced, well-rounded team that has been battle-tested and has won some big games. And I just think there's a team every year in this conference where you look at it and be like, yep, I think this is their year. As long as all their injuries don't happen, and they just put it all together. I think they are just a little bit better than Clemson overall. I don't trust DJ. Now I will say this. If Clemson pulls DJ before the NC State game, I will be terrified.
Sure.
I will. But if DJ goes into that Clemson or that NC State Clemson game, I feel very confident in it. So I'm taking NC State to win the Atlantic. And I'm going Pitt again. I'm actually taking Pitt to win the Coastal again. I know they lost Kenny Pickett, but they added Slovis out of USC. They returned quite a bit on defense. I think Pitt is been a very good, solid program the last couple of years. I know they lost Addison to USC. I don't know. There's something about this Pitt team. I like what they bring back, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And I don't think Miami's ready yet. I don't like North Carolina enough to pick them. Virginia Tech's kind of on a downslide. I know people kind of have Virginia as a dark horse with Armstrong being a very talented quarterback. I just don't see it there. So my ACC championship game is NC State versus Pitt.
Okay. I like that it's like definitely – see, I went more chalk, and I don't really like that because, I mean, this ACC team, this conference, the whole conference, top to bottom, is wide open. I mean, there's very little difference to me personally between, the top teams and the middle tier teams. So it's going to be an interesting season for them for sure.
I agree. And like I said, I went – who did I go with last year? I went UNC Clemson last year. Sure. And I didn't get either right.
Sure. Yeah.
So I mean, I picked Clemson to go to the college football playoffs last year, and they didn't make it. So, so what we're gonna do is I want to bring in our gambling guy Mac, and he's got some ACC bets for us, some win-loss totals, some player of the year odds, some playoff picks. So like, I'm gonna bring in Mac. Sponsored by the DraftKings Sportsbook app. College football is right around the corner. Make sure that you get your college football picks in. Now you can do it on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Put $10 in a free bet and then get $100 in free bets using promo code BOOT. That's BOOT. DraftKings Sportsbook app, official sponsor of the Oxford podcast. I was reading that off my phone. That one was a little bit hard, and I thought it was
a little shaky. It was a little shaky. I'll give you a 7-2. It passes.
No, I gave myself
a 7-2.
I was going to say a 6-1, but I'll bring it back. Mac, all right, have my back. All right, what am I looking at bet-wise for the ACC?
All right, so first we're going to look at the total win number for these ACC teams. Clemson leads us off with 10.5. They have the most. Go down to Miami has 8.5, NC State 8.5, Pitt 8.5, and Wake Forest 8.5. They have the most. Duke has the least amount with 3. I'm going to leave the win totals to the side for a second. I'm going to the conference win totals. I really, really like Clemson at 6.5. I like the over. Miami 5.5. I like the over. NC State 5.5. I like the over. And Wake Forest 4.5. I like the over.
I love that Wake Forest.
Yeah, I love that.
Wake Forest. I am so high on that, dude.
Oh, I'm taking that all day.
Those 4 teams have the least amount of question marks, in my opinion. So I think if you were to bet on all of those teams, those 4 teams, odds are 3 of them will hit. I really do believe so.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying I love the Wake Forest pick. 4.5 wins in the ACC all day.
Yeah.
Going on to the under, I think that Georgia Tech, their line is at 3.5. I'm going to go ahead and take the under. I don't think they're that good. Syracuse, their line is at 5. I'm taking the under. And just to remind yourself, there's 8 conference games and 3 non-conference. So you could look at it any way. I really think that Georgia Tech and Syracuse and Duke are the basement of this division. I'm going to go ahead and pick that.
So this 5, that would be regular season wins, right?
Yes.
The Syracuse. See, I absolutely agree with that. 5 for Syracuse is way too many. I think you're right. They're bottom tier. They'll win their out of conference game, so they'll get 3. But I think that's about it. They might sneak a conference game here, one just because they always win, and one they're not supposed to. But I don't think they even sniff this 5 number.
I want to flirt with that. All right, so they open with Louisville, then they have Connecticut.
That's a win.
They have Purdue. I think that was a loss. Purdue's going to be good. Purdue's going to be good this year. They have Virginia on a Friday night in the Dome.
Loss.
That I don't know about that. I think that one could be pretty.
It could go either way for sure.
Coin flip. Then you have Wagner win.
Win.
Then they play. Oh God, they play Clemson. Oh no, I'm sorry. NC State, Clemson, Notre Dame, Pittsburgh, Florida State, and Wake Forest in consecutive weeks.
That's 6 losses. That's
Oh
6 losses. If their quarterback makes it out of that gauntlet alive, I will be shocked.
I will give Syracuse this. Syracuse has one of the best running backs in the country named Sean Tucker. He's a fantastic running back. He does not get enough love. Yeah, that's tough. They won 5 games last year. I mean, yeah, that's.
I think that 6-week stretch is probably the hardest 6 weeks of any team in this schedule.
As far as like the skill level of the team that they're is them. I mean, like obviously you look at an SEC schedule, you can argue that that's harder, but like that's a difficult stretch for a bad team.
That's tough. Yeah, I can't touch that. I mean, Sean Tucker had over 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns last year on the ground. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't take that. I can't do that.
You're not touching that one?
No, I can't. That's just too much. Over 5 wins of that schedule. No.
Oh yeah. Okay. So you're taking the under with me because honestly,
100%,
right now,
100%.
I'm a big fan of the Wake Forest over, and I'm a big fan of the Syracuse under on that one.
We're on the same.
The
page.
one I'm just not so sure about. And I mean, Mac, you got my back on it, no doubt. But this 6.5 conference wins for Clemson scares me because it's one of those where, like, Cruz, you called it. If DJ just loses them games, this under's hitting by a mile.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But if DJ shows up, they might go undefeated in the conference. Who knows?
Then I'll eat my shoe. There you go.
Right.
But
not really. But
if Clemson kind of flutters and is not as good, I think that opens the door for Wake Forest and North Carolina State to really.
Agreed. No, I agree with that. So if you're saying you're taking all of them, if one doesn't hit, the other one definitely will. Is basically what you're saying. Sure. I agree with that.
All right, Mac. End on this note. Give me your last surefire bet, ACC wise. Give it to me.
Well, I was scouring the DraftKings sportsbook, and this one bet came across me, and I thought it was really funny and interesting. And I'm curious as to what you guys think. They have a bet of which team is going to have more regular season wins: North Carolina State at -125 or Texas A&M at +105.
Yo, that's actually wow.
Hold on. Hold on.
Hold on.
I'm pulling up that schedule right now for A&M.
So North Carolina State is the favorite here, but it could go either way. I think they're both.
So
brother in
Texas A&M has Sam Houston State win, Appalachian State win. This is an interesting game too. They play Miami week 3. Now, The question is, we don't know what kind of Miami team we're getting this year, and we don't know what A&M team we're getting this year. I could see A&M just literally just screwing the pooch and losing that game. I could see it 100%. Then I think they lose to Arkansas because I think Arkansas is a real deal this year. They have to go to Mississippi State.
Mississippi State's a dub. Mississippi State's a dub.
I
think they're going to be about the same. I think they're going to be about the same.
Then they go to Tuscaloosa to go to their funeral on October 8th.
Yeah.
Then they have a bye week. Then they're at South Carolina.
That should be a win.
That should be a win. Ole Miss, Florida, at Auburn, UMass, and LSU.
The thing is, there's just not a ton of gimmies on that. So there's not a ton of absolute yes, that's a win.
Let me go. Hold on. Let me see here. I'm gonna say I'm jotting it down right now. So I got them winning Sam Houston. I got them winning App State. I have them losing to Miami. I'm saying it right now. Week 3, I'm gonna say they lose to Miami. They lose to Arkansas. Win against Mississippi State. Lose to Alabama. Win against South Carolina. Lose to Ole Miss. I think they're going to lose to Florida. I think Florida is going to be a lot better than a lot of people think this year. Because Anthony Richardson is about to. No, Anthony Richardson's a real deal. I'm telling you right now. So
Okay.
I'm gonna say they beat Auburn, they beat UMass, and they lose to LSU. So right now I have A&M going 5, 6. I have A&M winning
7-5?
6 games.
Nah, it's over. It's above that. It's above that.
For sure.
Maybe they
One of those
sneak that
Arkansas,
Miami game,
Ole Miss
and maybe
games.
they and maybe they sneak that Ole Miss game.
I don't think they're better than Ole Miss. I don't think they're better than Florida. I don't think they're better than LSU. They're not better than Arkansas. They're not better than Alabama.
That's true.
I think Miami has one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
Yeah, they do.
I'm taking that.
Is that Miami game
day.
at home? Is that Miami game at home or is it neutral site?
It's at A&M.
Okay.
So I could legit see Texas A&M winning 6 or 7 games this year. And I know that sounds insane because they beat Alabama last year but they went 8-4. And then I don't know, guys.
I think the NC State's the bet on that pick, honestly.
Yeah,
I think NC State. Yeah, with that.
Yeah,
with that
NC State might be the one to go with on that one.
Right.
I like that.
All right. So damn, Mac, that was good. So all right.
That was good.
All right. So let's wrap this up real quick. Nick, we have our conference championship games set up. I have NC State versus Pitt. You have Clemson versus Miami. Let's start with you. What do you have going?
I'm going chalk again here. I think Clemson gets it figured out over the course of this year. I think DJ probably ends up getting benched, and this new kid comes in, lights it up. Dabo Swinney, there's question marks with him when he doesn't have generational talent. But I think this defense is so raw that it's going to get them across the finish line. I think Miami, like you said earlier, they're just not quite there yet. They got a lot of talent, a lot of good energy from a new coach. I think next year is going to be a really big year for them, but I think this is kind of the stepping stone. I think this is the year, this is that 2008 for Alabama. They go undefeated and lose in the conference championship, right? I see that kind of a similar year with Mario Cristobal in Miami this year. I think Clemson gets the dub over Miami, but they don't make the playoffs.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Okay, I like that. All right. So look, this is not – I really don't know if this is going to happen, Nick. Like, this is all speculation at this point, and we all know this, and, we're going to make a pick where it's like someone picked Texas to go to it all last year, or Oregon. Who was that? Was that Bond?
I think it was Bond picked Oregon, I believe, to make the championship game last year.
Yeah. So, we're just right now, just huge specation right now. But
we're talking in July here. There's so much.
I know.
Dabo Swinney could get involved. Could get like a charge set on. Who knows, right? Like it's one of those things where we're talking in July. A ton of stuff can happen over the next 2 months.
Absolutely. So I have NC State winning the ACC. I really do. There's something about this team, Nick, that I love. I really do. I think their defense is just as good as anybody else's in the country. They just don't get a lot of national love because they're a small market school. Pitt, I think, is a really good team this year again. They made a New Year's Six Bowl last year. I think they unfortunately just lost a little too much. They're getting into the Coastal Division because I just think the Coastal Division is a little too inconsistent. I think Miami is a little bit of ways away. I give them next year. Like, honestly, they keep recruiting the way they're doing. Next year, they're going to be a
next
problem.
year's a big year for Miami, for sure.
And Mario Cristobal has not even coached a game yet, and he's already got Miami back on the map recruiting-wise. So, I think Miami's going to win some games. Like I said, I think they're going to be A&M. I really do, on paper. They already have the number 7 recruiting class for next year. That's insane.
Yeah. Mario Cristobal is turning that program around before he even coaches the game. That's insane.
100%. I like NC State to win the ACC. I don't think they will make the playoffs, however. I think they will lose a game they shouldn't. I'm going to go on record and say they lose. I'm going to say they lose to Wake Forest. I think they're going to lose to Wake Forest. I think Clemson loses 2 ACC games this year, which keeps them out. Honestly, they could just lose the one, and then it's just a tiebreaker. So
sure.
we really
then
could.
Head-to-head.
So then it's just a head-to-head. So I think NC State wins the ACC. They don't make the college football playoff. They make a New Year's Six bowl. They make the Peach Bowl. We'll go with that. Or no ways. The Peach Bowl is one of the college football playoff games this year, so no, they won't do that.
It is, yeah. I don't know what it would be. I always get confused by that rotation, to be honest with you, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's the Fiesta Bowl in Arizona, and it's the Peach Bowl in Atlanta this year, and then the national championships in LA. So
Cotton Bowl? Would it be Cotton Bowl?
Cotton Bowl could be cool. I could do Texas. Yeah, okay. So, and then do you have a player of the year pick?
I do. So my dark horse team this year, and I'll go quick with it because I know we're against the clock here. My dark horse team this year is going to be Wake Forest. Wake Forest is just one of those teams. They're getting so much back. I love Sam Hartman at quarterback.
Yeah.
That's going to be my player of the year, honestly. I think he lights up the conference, and it's going to be the Sam Hartman show. If they make it to the championship game, it'll be on the shoulders of this kid, and he is so 100%. Unbelievable to watch. And I think if he even just gets them in the conversation when we're talking in November, he gets the player of the year.
So he is 500 yards away from being Wake Forest all-time leading passer. 500 yards. He'll get that after week 2.
Maybe after week 1.
He plays VMI. Yeah, week 1, and then he plays Vanderbilt week 2. So yeah, he's getting it in one of those
Definitely
2 weeks.
Getting that. Yes.
No, Sam Hartman's a great pick. I can't really see Wake Forest as a dark horse team. They won 11-3 last year. So
right. No. So okay, when I was saying dark horse, it's outside of my championship. Teams,
makes
right?
sense. Yeah.
So
yeah.
like I make those picks, and then anybody after that to me is like the dark horse. Agreed, though. I wouldn't consider them a dark horse.
No, I get it. I'm sticking with my tradition because I've just been giving the team love all game. I'm going Devin Leary as my ACC Player of the Year. I think he's actually a dark horse Heisman candidate. I don't think he will get to New York, but I think he will receive some, 3rd, 4th, 5th place votes from outside the ballot. I think this kid is going to just light it up. I really hope. Really hope I don't get egg on my face with this pick because I'm just like all in on him this year. I really am.
Devin Leary's 50-1 on Heisman odds right now.
It's not
it's not outside the realm of possibility. I've seen crazier things.
I've seen crazier. What was Joe Burrow when he won it? In 2019. It was something.
It was something. It was like 75-1. I want to say it was something nuts.
Yeah,
it was something really crazy.
But obviously, he's not my Heisman pick whatsoever. I think my dark horse team, though, Wake Forest is the good pick. But I don't want to pick anything you picked. I can't pick Miami because I don't think they're there yet. That makes the most sense.
Florida State, get some points with your girlfriend. Come on.
No, because their schedule's too tough. I think their schedule's too tough.
It is very tough.
When you have Wake Forest, NC State, and Clemson back-to-back weeks, that's just not ideal. Yeah. I'll go Wake Forest with you because I think that is a logical pick. I think Sam Hartman is a stud. He's going to light it up in the NFL. He looks good in black and gold. So if anything doesn't work out with Jameis, he looks like he'd be pretty good.
Yeah, he looks great in a Saints uniform, no doubt.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I think we're all on the same page. We don't have an ACC team making the playoffs. I think this is going to be one of the more competitive conferences this year. It's nice to see a little bit of parity with this, I think.
It's without Clemson just being head and shoulders about it. It's more interesting to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I really do too think that if Clemson doesn't win the ACC this year, that reign of terror is done in South Carolina. I think it's done because we saw a kink in the armor where Dabo Swinney didn't have a transcendent quarterback last year, and it showed. Right. He had the luxury of having Deshaun Watson, who arguably is, I hate to say it, but I've seen him play live twice, and he's maybe one of the best college football players I've ever seen play in person. He is fantastic. And then Trevor Lawrence was touchdown Jesus with the hair. Dude was fantastic. I don't like him personally, but he was just a fantastic quarterback. And now because of good karma, he's now being forced to play in Jacksonville, which is just music to my ears, honestly.
It's a tough one.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. All right. So we have our ACC picks. Wyatt, Mac, I just need to hear who your championship game is, who your picks are, and then we will call it a night for our ACC preview.
Mac, you take it.
All right. Yeah, Nick, you did touch on it earlier. It's not going to turn out how you think it's going to turn out every year, regardless of how you look at it. But I really do think it's going to be Clemson and Miami again. They're just probably the best coach teams, hopefully, this upcoming year. Crystal ball, you can't say enough good things about them. Hopefully, they're bringing Miami back. College football is more fun when Miami is back. That's
100% agreed. Yeah.
All right, my pick, shooting the shit, cutting it straight. Miami's winning the Coastal Division. Tyler Van Dyke's going to New York.
Oh,
wow.
Going to New York, not winning it. Going to New
cow.
York, not winning it.
Tennessee wins the championship in basketball anyone? Holy cow.
Tyler Van Dyke goes to New York. He keeps
What
his
a
left
pick.
tackle. NC State wins the Atlantic Division. Can't say enough good things about Devin Leary. I've got Miami winning the ACC.
Wow. Okay.
Wow,
Mac, who's your
okay.
pick to win the ACC?
Clemson.
Clemson?
And
Yeah.
I like that bet, though. Why Tyler Van Dyke is plus 3,500 for Heisman. So if you really like him, sprinkle some money on
It's
him.
not bad. 35 to 1.
I might sprinkle some cash on that one.
Ooh, all right. Oh, this is fun.
I can't wait till football, guys. I can't
Super
wait.
quick,
It is
back
so
to the
close.
Joe Burrow bet. I found this guy. I found this stat. A guy in Illinois bet on Joe Burrow to win the Heisman in summer 2019.
Okay.
He placed a $50 bet. He won 10 grand when Burrow won it.
What was
Wow.
Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna do that for Devin Leary. Right now. doing it right now on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. By the way, legally because I can.
The guy probably just thought he
Gamble
was throwing away
responsibly.
50
'cause I
bucks.
can. All right. Well, that's going to do it for the ACC Preview Show. Next week, we are going to do the Big 12 and then the Big 10. And then, of course, we will hit the SEC. God, I'm so excited. You can find me online at The Real Cruise Ox on Instagram, Twitter, and all other socials. Make sure you follow the Oxford Podcast on all socials as well. I've been cranking out the top 10 lists lately. Really appreciate all the interaction. Even Big Game Boomer said I was doing a good job, which coming from him actually kind of means a lot.
That's a pretty solid list.
He's a troll, though. So, I mean, is that really a compliment?
Is he a troll or is he?
He's
he
really good. He's really good troll.
He could be a fan.
troll.
Yeah, and make sure you follow Boo Crew Media as well. Nick, how can people find you online?
At InPerkins96, drop a follow. We made a little bit of progress this week, guys. We had a really good push. Wyatt, I think, has chilled off on the Twitter a little bit.
Only because
Had a little bit of a down week.
I was getting
only
he
because
was about to get banned.
I was getting suspended for 3 days at a pop for 3 days a pop trying to
He
follow
was too
people.
active on Twitter. Twitter was about to shut him down.
Release my boy.
But so we made a little bit of progress. We're making our way back. Hopefully,
Yeah.
we're above it by the time football starts. That's the goal.
There you go.
But obviously, we just love to see all the support on the show's Twitter. It's been amazing. We appreciate you guys. Wyatt, let them know where to find them.
I'm not even going to plug my own Twitter here because my whole entire focus right now is keeping the Oxcord on Twitter above Nick and trying to catch Cruz. We are on the road to trying to catch Cruz. We're about halfway there right now.
Look, if you pass Cruz, I don't even know what I'm gonna do. What's the bonus incentive on passing Cruz?
I'll give him a grand.
We got to figure that out.
I'll give him a grand.
I'll match his grand. I will match his grand.
I'm at. You're
You're
not
at 8,100.
You're not gonna catch me.
Not by football
By
season.
when?
I didn't
By
say
when?
it by football
But-
season.
yeah, I was about to
didn't even
say, by
by
when?
the end of football season.
By the end of
Oxford
football.
po-
Okay.
I did not say by the end of football season.
Okay.
Are we
talking
just saying
Super Bowl?
in general?
At
by the-
some point, the
at some
Oxford
point?
will pass Cruz Oxenrider in Twitter followers.
Even if I die, you still won't pass me.
I'll go buy Twitter followers.
Even in
and
death,
make it
Cruz
past
will
you.
become more
I will go buy
powerful
Twitter
you could
followers and
possibly
make
No
it past
bot.
you.
We don't condone bots here. We don't.
No, we don't.
This is an anti-bot.
Anti-bot, yeah. Mac, what you got, man?
You can follow me on Twitter at Mac_Goody51 and make sure to follow the Oxcord Pod on Instagram and give us a follow.
Absolutely. Subscribe to Boot Crew Media, guys, on YouTube.
straight.
They've been killing it. Every program they put out is really good. So
Damn straight. Well, we love you guys, and we will see you next week for the Big 12.